Hello, children. Welcome back, everyone. Today we are continuing with the lesson Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. We have completed half of the chapter last time, and this is the continuation from here. I'll start. I hope you remember the things who was Nelson Mandela, where he was born, what was his reasons for joining the Congress, and then fighting for apartheid. What is apartheid? Okay, so on that day, the day when he was taking his oath, he was describing the scenario and he was also talking about his speech given on that day. Okay, now to continue from here, he was talking about the policy of apartheid created a deep, lasting wound in my country and my people. The profound, I mean, if I ask you that created a deep and lasting wound, what do you mean by that? That means that wound was so deep that it affected them for, decades, many years. They were haunted because of this wound. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound wound. Now he said this profound wound, which he meant the wound caused by the policy of apartheid. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sissolas, the Chief Lutelis, the Issouf Dadus, the Bum Fissers, and Robert Sobukes of our time, men of such extraordinary. What he meant to say was that out of that worst situation and condition, where the people were, tortured in the sense not only physically, mentally, they were tortured because of the discrimination, but something good happened. These gems, this kind of, great people also born out of this situation. Okay, now let us go back, come to the next page. Courage, wisdom, and generosity that their like may never be known again. Perhaps it requires such depths of operation to create such heights of character. That is very true when he says this because something good happens when you are under pressure and when you are at the worst situation of your life. Then only you come to know about your worth and your capability, right? So, out of that, these great personalities were also born. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. So, what he is saying that he is more into the quality of the people, the gems who were born on his land, rather than the natural wealth they were rich of. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. So he, I mean, idealized them and he said that they were his inspiration to fight this apartheid. Time and again, this is a phrase, take a note of this time and again. You can use it in your own sentences, that is repeatedly. I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. That means when the people believe very deeply in something, they can sacrifice even their lives for that, for the betterment, of course. I have seen many men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking. They would take that torture also, but not, won't break in front of that, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. Their imagination of some idea that is defied by their resilience. and strength they are showing in front of this torture. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. So, this is one very nice line he described, that it is never that courage, if you have the courage, that doesn't mean that there is no fear in you. Fear is there, but to overcome that fear and have a triumph over it, actually, what means is courage. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, right? This is what apartheid was about. Or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. So, what is his meaning is that no one is born with that hatred within, that this people are having different color than me, so I have to hate them. Rather, he was taught that way, that you are superior and they are inferior and you have better opportunities and all. Now, if that person can be taught to hate people, he can also be taught to love people, isn't it? So they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Hate always has to be instigated, but then love is a natural phenomenon given by God to human beings, isn't it? So it's more easier to be lovable to others rather than be hateful. Even in the grimmest time in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, that is the last point of the ability of someone's bearing the pain he has been given, right? I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. So, what is saying that amongst all those people who were interested in torturing them, giving them that bad phase of their life, there is one guard who was very good in nature, and his glimpse of humanity was visible to him. That is an Nelson Mandela. Perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. He could not go against his higher officials, but there was humanity in him. And according to Nelson Mandela, that was enough, even for a few seconds. If he had shown the humanity towards them, it was enough for him, for the, keeping the faith on the humanity. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. You can hide that natural phenomena of love, kindness, but that you never can extinguish. You can never destroy it forever. So, this may always come back if you are, I mean, having that connection to humanity. In life, every man has twin obligations, obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. So, according to him, every man has twin obligation. Twin obligations means two parts to play. One part which he has to play towards his family, his liabilities, and one towards his nation, towards his country, towards his people. You are liable to that also if you really love your country, really love your nation. So both these two phases are your liability. In a civil and human society, each man is able to fulfill their obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. Now, this is one deep sentence where he is saying that in normal situation it is very easy for the people where there is no discrimination, no apartheid. But for a person like him, born in South Africa where apartheid was in practice, it was very hard for him to play both these roles simultaneously and properly. Now, while it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color, that is, where he has born and with that dark skin, to fulfill both of these obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. Can you feel the pain in this sentence? He's saying that a man of color, that means the black people he is mentioning over here, who attempted to live as a human being. So they were not given the status of being, living like a normal human being even. And if that person tried to live like a normal human being with self-respect, he would have punished and isolated. That was the condition. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family. So he would be taken away from his family if he would try to involve or try to, do something for his countrymen and his home, and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. Okay, that means if if you are trying to establish yourself doing something towards the society or something great for your family, you will be suppressed so that your existence, your life should not come out in the society. People should not know about your rebellion. People should, that was seen as a rebellion if he tries to do something. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family. Now, like every normal person, he was more into his family. He was trying to think more about the welfare of his family rather than the people of the country. But in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. But when he tried to play that role, which role? That is helping the people of his country, he found that restrictions started pouring on him. You know, uh, they restricted them from meeting his family, so he could not play his role properly as a son, as a brother, a father, and a husband because he was restricted even to meet his family. I was not born with a hunger to be free. Means it was when he was born, he was never knowing that he will go for fighting for this apartheid or to be free. The concept of freedom was not there in his mind initially, but he was born free. He never thought of that apartheid affecting him, and so he was feeling free within himself, free in every way that I could know, free to run in the fields near my mother's heart, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast meals under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow moving bulls. So, whatever he wanted, you can imagine all these things in a village life a small kid would like to do. All these things he used to enjoy. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. So it was like that you are given this much of freedom and you should be happy with that. As long as he was not knowing about the discrimination, about the torture the people were facing. He was just a kid and he was enjoying his life. So he was free. He was not troubled. He was not restricted because he, till that time, didn't go against the laws. Understood? It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. Now, gradually, when he started growing, he realized that what he was thinking to be his freedom was only an illusion. Illusion, why? Because it is only like, in your home, you are playing, doing whatever you want, and you are thinking that, oh, I'm free to do whatever I want. I am free, but then as soon as you go out of your home and you see that you are not allowed to enter that place, you are not allowed to do this or that, so many restrictions on you are there. So you will gradually realize that that freedom which you were enjoying till now was only an illusion, nothing else. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. And he realized that it was never for him, the freedom was never for him. And he was so happy to have that freedom, but then he realized that it was never there. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedom of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. That much was his demand. Only this much he wanted as a student, that I should have this freedom, going out at night, read whatever I want, go wherever I want. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. So the thing is, when you are a kid, your demands are very less. Few things you need. So there are no restrictions. People would give you that very easily. Now, when you grow up, go into the society, and you want to establish yourself over there, then you will face those things which are lying beneath the shadow of this illusion. He gradually realized that everywhere there was discrimination. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. And he realized that it was not only he who has been restricted, but all people of his color, of his birth, were having the same problem. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is the dark skinned people. That is when I joined the African National Congress. Now he got his aim of life, you can say that, and he could never tolerate that so many restrictions were put on them, and that was also without any reason, and that was really an inhuman situation to live in. He felt for his people, and thus he joined political party, that is African National Congress. And that is when the hunger of for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. And now, in a broader sense, he started fighting against this apartheid. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self respect that animated my life, that changed his life. Okay, because not it was not only about his freedom now. He was ready to fight for each one of them who was of his color and was being discriminated. That transformed a frightened young man into a bold one. Till now, he was not that strong, not that firm, but then his determination transformed him from a frightened young man into a bold one. Now he was ready to face anything, ready to do anything. because that was the aim of his life now. That drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal. Now he was a attorney, and to become a criminal means criminal in the eyes of the system, not for him. He was fighting for his rights. That turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, and he was restricted to meet his family even now, because in eyes of the government he turned to be a criminal because he was opposing them now. That forced a life loving man to live like a monk. Monk means, you know, giving away every pleasure of life, going nowhere, you should hide yourself. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. So, whatever freedom was given to him, he was not enjoying that also, because every time in his mind that pain was going on, that my brothers and sisters, that means all the people of my color, they are not enjoying even this much of freedom, maybe they are being tortured. So he left everything and he was determined to fight for them, to get the freedom for them. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. So he saw that as a common thing for them. Anyone was restricted, anyone was tortured, that was for everyone. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. He felt the pain within himself. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. Now, this is one beautiful line. In spite of being discriminated, in spite of being hated so much, he was still feeling for the people who were oppressing them, actually. He's saying that the oppressor also must be liberated. They must also be freed from their hatred, because when they are oppressing someone, they are captivated, they are imprisoned within the hatred of hatred that is made by themselves only. See this line, a man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. That's why he is doing so. He is bound in so much of hatred that he is punishing someone else. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. I'm not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. So, both way, the oppressor and the oppressed, both are not in a good state of mind. The oppressed, obviously, they are feeling that pain because they are discriminated, they are being oppressed, but the person who is oppressing, that person is also not very happy because he is engaged in hatred and narrow mindedness, and that prejudice that these people are not good, so I should hate them. So all these things are torturing the oppressor also, troubling the mind of the oppressor also. So both ways, he is saying that I'm not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Both way, they are not enjoying their humanity, isn't it? So he is such a great thinker, you can see from the lesson. I hope the lesson is clear to you, and I would like you to attempt these questions which is given in oral comprehension check. What twin obligation does Mandela mention? That is very easy. We just discussed it now. What did being free mean to Mandela as a boy and as a student? How does he contrast these transitory freedoms with the basic and honorable freedoms? So you have to bring all those incidents which he mentioned and how it was transformed. Does Mandela think the oppressor is free? Why? Why not? This is also very, relatable. Just now we have done this. So I hope all the things are clear to you. Thank you, students. Have a great time ahead.